Welcome to The Shoreline, brought to you by Shores and Islands, Ohio, where finding your Lake Erie love is a sure thing. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Jill Bauer, PR Manager for Shores and Islands, Ohio. We bring you The Shoreline every week to give you the inside scoop on what's happening here in our island and coastal communities. Well, we really are buzzing right through July. Why does summer always seem to go so fast? My daughter had a birthday last week, and she always wants to spend the day together shopping, which we did this past weekend. But it always seems like we're looking ahead to what would be good for school, what can be worn to school, and it's kind of depressing that we're looking at that on the horizon already. So before you get caught up in all of the back to school madness, we've honestly got a lot of summer left. Don't let it slip away without enjoying some Shores and Islands, Ohio fun. Whether it's a full-fledged vacay, a mini getaway, or even a day trip, or you're local and just looking for fun ways to enjoy this amazing place we get to live in, we are here to help you find those new nuggets to explore or those unique events to enjoy. So let's see. Boardwalk nights started last week at Cedar Point. When the sun goes down, the Cedar Point beach and the boardwalk area electrify with larger-than-life entertainment, over-the-top food and drink, games for the entire family, music and dancing, lights, and so much more. Last year, they had these really cool kite flyers, like synchronized kite flyers, and they also had daredevil divers, like professional diving into a small pool. They were the coolest. So be sure to check that out. That'll be going on nightly, except for Tuesdays, through August 16th. And we've got a cool event this Thursday with our resident nature expert, Ned the Naturalist, otherwise known as Shores and Islands Visitor Experience Manager, Brian Shiflett. First, we're hosting a Ned Talk at our Port Clinton Welcome Center with actual naturalist Mike Hensley as we celebrate National Moth Week. Mike will be talking about simple ways to attract moths and other underappreciated but very beneficial pollinators to your backyard gardens. Then later that evening, Mike will be leading a light hike at Meadowbrook Marsh, looking for and teaching us how to attract moths for an up-close look at moths in the wild. Or on Friday, July 24th, you can check out Ottawa County's newest 7.6-acre park with the grand opening and guided tours of the Islander Woods and Trailhead in Catawba, the debut park of the Park District of Ottawa County. You may recall hearing about this when we interviewed Park District Director Jana Wilson back in October. You can go to Season 2, Episode 40 if you want to hear all about that. This new park includes a boardwalk loop trail, a nature play area, water filling stations, and more. And we've mentioned this previously, but this weekend is also dueling pirate festivals with the Port Clinton Pirate Fest and Ohio Pirate Con in Fremont, if you've got Buccaneers seeking treasure in your family or friend group. Additionally, the village of Milan is holding a community picnic on Sunday afternoon, complete with free hot dogs, patriotic cupcakes and sodas, yard games, a Model T car club display, and a barbershop quartet. That's all part of the America 250 celebration, wrapping up the July America 250 Ohio theme of homecomings and picnics. As always, you can find all the details of these events and other amazing ways to fill out your summer at shoresandislands.com. July episodes of The Shoreline are brought to you by Declaration 250. This July 31st through August 2nd, join thousands at Put-in-Bay for Declaration 250, celebrating August 2nd, 1776, the day America actually signed its name to freedom. Get details at declaration-250.com. Joining us now is journalist and podcast host James Proffitt. James moved north from Cincinnati to Marblehead in 2007 and says he'd never leave the lake. After nearly a decade as a Gannett reporter photographer, he's now a freelance writer and the Lake Erie contributor for Detroit Public Television's website, greatlakesnow.org. He writes about all things Lake Erie, including conservation, recreation, wildlife, art, and current events. James is also the host of the WGTE public media podcast, Lake Effect. Lake Effect is a journey through all things Lake Erie, its tributaries, and nearshore realms. James James gets to interview scientists, anglers, charter captains, farmers, tourism officials, boat restorers, historians, and a host of others who have an affinity for the lake through either proximity, work, or a simple love of the greatest Great Lake. His episode about Biggest Week in American Birding won a Touchtone Award from the Toledo Press Club last year, and his podcast with Lake Erie Advocates won third place in the Association of Great Lakes Outdoor Writers annual contest. Additionally, James runs a local cab company, so he really gets to meet a lot of interesting folks. Thank you for joining us on the Shoreline today, James.
Well, thank you so much, young lady. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Well, for our listeners that may not know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became both the host of the Lake Effect podcast and a travel writer, writing mostly about Lake Erie?
I had worked for the newspaper for 7 or 8 years when I first moved up here, and then went freelance in about 2014. I have been writing for outdoor magazines and websites for a while, and one day I was just driving down the road listening to the news on WGTE, and they mentioned Voices Around Us podcast, and if you have any ideas, send us an email. So I thought, I'm sure they probably don't need anyone. It's been going on for a while. And so I did send an email, and they liked my idea, and that was it.
So you've spent countless hours exploring the communities all around Lake Erie. What keeps drawing you back to the lake? Why is it such a compelling place to tell stories?
Well, I like to say Lake Erie is the greatest of the Great Lakes, but there's always something new going on. There's always someone new to meet. There's something different going on aside from the typical eating and dining and drinking scene that a lot of people are familiar with. There's all kinds of things going on all the time that are just kind of cool. And once you get to talking to somebody about it, they usually want to tell you a little bit more.
Well, speaking of talking to somebody about it, through your podcast, you've interviewed a wide variety of people. Do you have any conversations or stories that have stayed with you from past interviews?
Probably my most memorable episode was the very first one I did with retired Toledo Blade outdoors reporter Steve Pollock, who lives in Fremont. Spent decades covering Lake Erie in Northwest Ohio, and we ended up meeting in Fremont and in a restaurant. Couldn't find a quiet place, and we ended up upstairs in the ladies' restroom. The audio is not so great. I mean, it's not the best quality, but they fixed it up the best they could.
I bet the acoustics were great in there.
Yeah, it was something else. But at the end of it, we were both a little bit weepy, which you hear at the end of the interview. I mean, I've known Steve for a long time. He's a good friend and a great writer, and so that's probably one of the most memorable episodes that I've recorded since I began.
Oh, that's really neat. I'll have to go back and listen to that one. Episode 1, you say, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, great. Well, as a travel writer, you've also visited several destinations around the lake. What do you think that people that aren't from this region misunderstand the most about Lake Erie?
I think a lot of people, when they think of Lake Erie or this area, this region, the Shores and Islands region, they think only of two big things. The Cedar Point operation, which is huge. It's a great family fun. It's been, tens of millions of people have visited over the years. Mm-hmm. And they think of the islands, which have a reputation for just a lot of revelry, I guess, good times. But there's so much more than just those two scenes in this area. From quiet walks along various beaches, woods. There's a lot of marshes in this area from all the way, east of Sandusky all the way to Toledo. They're really amazing. You can't just run in and run out to really appreciate them. You have to take your time and keep your eyes open and see and learn all kinds of interesting and amazing things, nature related.
I bet you like to scope out all of the hidden gems in the region as well. Is there anything that maybe you have fallen in love with that you think people don't know about?
I think one thing people walk on the beach all the time, but I think if you walk along the beach and look very closely, you will find all kinds of really interesting things. There are some dead fish here and there, which are sometimes interesting. I saw a sturgeon, about a 19-inch sturgeon on a beach in Port Clinton a couple weeks ago, but the amount of tiny things that most people wouldn't even think about. I mean, there's clearly beach glass to be found here and there, just little tiny pieces of wood, interesting stones and rocks that you wonder, where in the heck did this come from? One thing that I do find interesting is finding bricks along the beach. Most times they're worn down to almost pebble size. And, in my mind, because I probably think too much, I wonder, this came from a building. How did it get in Lake Erie? Where was the building? How old is it? How long did it take to get, from brick size down to, the size of a cigarette lighter or a quarter or something? There are lucky stones from that you can find from the sheephead that a lot of people collect. And then also you can find almost on any beach you go to evidence where other people had been there and built something with driftwood, whether it was kids or adults. And then you go back a week later and it's all washed away and there's something new. Just walking the beaches, taking my time and really observing is a lot of fun.
Well, you get to interview a lot of scientists and things like that as well. Sustainability and conservation often come up in different conversations about the Great Lakes. What gives you hope about the future of Lake Erie?
Well, what gives me hope is the fact that it's taken a long time, but people in the region and the state, I think, are finally coming to realize that there are some serious issues that need to be addressed. Obviously the algae is one, combined sewer overflow, which I think so people are aware of it. They're aware of Lake Erie is an exhaustible resource. It's not infinite. There's a limited amount of water that comes in every year and leaves every year, and we have to take care of the water and the shorelines that are here today so that we can keep it as clean as possible for the future generations.
Yeah, that's excellent point that people are now realizing how important it is. We actually just had an episode about Lake Erie Green Week happening over on the islands and Lake Erie Awareness Day, plastics pollution, just saving that amazing resource that, not only gives us drinking water, it sustains us, but also does a lot for the tourism in the area. You mentioned, seeing the sturgeon. Fishing is huge in this region, and having a great fishery is a very important part of what brings people to this area as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Lake Erie, it means something different to everyone, whether it's recreation, history, wildlife, or just relaxing by the water. What does the lake mean to you personally? What are your favorite parts about the lake?
Honestly, my favorite part of being on the lake is being on a shoreline. It doesn't have to be a beach, but being on a shoreline somewhere where maybe we got, 1, 2, 3 footers. The waves are coming in. Ooh. They're hitting either a break wall or the beach. Sometimes if you're in somewhere where it's wooded, it's just coming up against the shoreline. It's very relaxing. It never ends. I mean, it's just like the ocean. If you go to the ocean somewhere, the waves are constant. Very rarely is the lake completely flat. And when it is flat, there's another layer to it, which is you can see the fish. You can see a lot of stuff going on, either on the surface or just below the surface. If you just take your time, sit down and relax and keep your eyes and ears open, it's always got something new to present to you. And that can depend on your mood. If you're really in a great mood, it might strike your fancy in one way or another. If you're in a terrible mood or have had a bad day or a bad week, it can hit you another way. But it's always a good way, no matter how you take it in and enjoy it.
Absolutely. Lake Erie really has its own personality depending on the weather, what the day is doing. I love that the rare glassiness of it really allows you to see so much and explore, and you see like the Lake Erie water snakes, or you see the fish going by. So it really is its own entity. If somebody was visiting and they just had one long weekend to experience the region. You've lived here for 20 years now. What kind of things are on your itinerary suggestions?
I would tell them to go to one of the islands. It doesn't matter which one, but at least spend a day on an island, get a golf cart or bicycles, electric scooters, and explore the island, see what's around. Each one's a little bit different. Definitely spend a day on the island. And then for some people who have never been on a boat in their lives, other people have been on a boat but never been on a ferry. So sometimes just getting over to the island is a new adventure in and of itself. The other thing I would point out, want people or encourage people to do is take a long walk, like over at Old Woman's Creek or the Ottawa National Wildlife Preserve, McGee Marsh, Maumee Bay State Park. I mean, all along the shoreline, like I said, from Toledo to east of Sandusky, there are really great places where you can take a walk. and most of them are pretty accessible no matter what your age, whether it's for younger children or people that are much older. They're mostly flat. It's good walking. You can take your time. No pressure to be in a hurry and, move on to the next thing. Just take your time, slow down, and relax for an afternoon or a morning.
I love that. That's something that we all rarely do.
You're right about that.
So, James, what's next for you? Do you have any upcoming episodes of The Lake Effect or travel projects? Any destinations you get to visit?
I will be visiting with people here for the next series, beginning, I think, towards the end of summer or early September, with representative from Lakeside, which, if people are not familiar with Lakeside, it's a very unique community. It's owned by a church, and it's quiet, it's wholesome, it's very scenic. All the homes are beautiful. There's tons of gardens and flowers, and it's just a nice place. It's almost like a step back in time. I'll be interviewing her, talking about how they keep it that way, why it's that way, and a little bit of the history of Lakeside. Cool. And it's not the only one. There's a similar site on Lake Chautauqua in Western New York, based on all the same principles. I plan on visiting with some folks on the Maumee River that row, competitive rowing, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing on the Cuyahoga River too in Cleveland.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know we had it on the Maumee.
I hope to get on a ship and talk to a ship captain here in this next series. Also, I'd like to speak with someone at the Marblehead Quarry, which has been around for well over 100 years, and bring ships into Marblehead. During the season, sometimes 2 or 3 a day come in and load. So that's always interesting. I know a lot of people like to go down there, and like people that watch trains or airplanes, they like to check out what ships are coming through.
Yeah,
and that's always interesting. Also, I plan on going out with some folks at night, bow fishing at night. I don't know if you've ever seen them at night, but a lot of times people call the police because they don't know what's going on. And basically it'll be a 18, 20-foot boat with a massive collection of like halogen lights shining on the water. And they're basically using bows and arrows to shoot carp.
Really? They're bow hunting in the lake?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's very popular, especially around the Marblehead area with East Harbor. There's a lot of people that do that at night, and actually the state records all come from this area for various bow fishing records.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's very cool.
It is a thing. I've done it before, but never up here. But, like I said, that's just like another interesting thing that I would like to find out more about and hang out with some folks while they're doing it. And that's the other thing I want to say. I did record an episode in the studio in Toledo, but I can't in good conscience ask someone from this area to travel to Toledo at a certain date and time. So I usually meet people in the field, and I think that's part of the thing that makes it exciting for me is Griffin Airlines. I met him at the airport a couple months ago and talked to him, and I met the Griffin owner and his daughter-in-law, and who is the chief pilot, by the way, a very young woman. And, I flew over to the islands after interviewing them, and then I hiked over to Heinemann's Winery and hung out with Dustin Heinemann to talk about the history of the winery. So getting out in the field and seeing things and doing things, that's my specialty. I would much prefer to be in the field than sitting in a studio. There's nothing wrong with sitting in a studio because it really makes for great audio, very excellent quality audio. I think sometimes my audio comes in and it needs work. But that's my secret that I like to do.
Well, I think that's very interesting too. You actually get to incorporate some of the activity into the episode of what you're doing and not just the interview. You get to also include yourself flying or boating, or that's really cool. I like how you do that. Folks should tune in and check that out. But before we let you go, James, I'm sure you also have a ton of maybe fun or quirky stories from running the cab company, Steiny's in Port Clinton.
Oh, yes.
What's a common misconception, or what's something that your passengers, maybe if they're not from here, that they're surprised to learn about?
I think most people that we come into contact with that are not regulars that live here and use us frequently have no idea how a cab works. People call and ask questions. How do I get a cab? Where do you go? How do you pay? But yes, some people say I've never been in a cab in my life. And I basically tell them, Well, today's your lucky day. After you get out of Steiny's cab, you're going to be 10 pounds lighter. Your credit score is going to be higher. You're going to have a lot more energy and just to have a positive outlook on life. I mean, I mix it up and depending on who I'm talking to. But like I said, a lot of people just have no idea. Oh, my gosh, you can take me here? And yeah, we can take you anywhere. And same with the other cabs. Yeah, the cab services in this area are very, very crucial to getting people around safely.
Sure.
And actually, one of my episodes, I interviewed the folks over at Kelly's Island. They run a company called Island Rides. It's mostly seasonal, but he's the fire chief. His wife works for the water department, and actually, we transport their children to school throughout the school year because they come to school in Danbury. So great folks, but. In interviewing them, it was a lot of the exact same stories. I know that, that sounds familiar.
That is an important thing for our listeners to even know that is an option, that there are ways to get around the region without having to drive your own car or follow a GPS. There are services that make it easy for you.
The rideshare services are very few and far between in this area. So people come into town a lot of times from the airports, and they wake up in the morning thinking they have a ride, and they don't. And so that's kind of a time crunch for people to get to the airport, which we do all the time. But a lot of times they miss their flights.
That's where you come in, and you can take them right to the ferry dock if they're heading over to the islands. Right. You can pick them up when they get back from the islands. It is very easy to get around the Shores and Islands area utilizing that service.
If I can mention one more future episode here.
Oh, please do.
I plan on interviewing some of the J-1 visa students who are here from all around the world, Eastern Europe, South America, the Caribbean, Asia. They are all very, appear to be hardworking. Most of them are in the STEM programs at the universities, and they come here and work all summer. But when they get in the cab, the first thing I want to find out is, where are you from? What are you studying? Have you been here before? And, it's almost like an interview. I'm truly interviewing them with, 10, 15 questions. And it's good to get to know these people from around the world. They are crucial, really, to keeping this area running during the summertime. Same at Cedar Point, various hotels, restaurants, everywhere. They're hard workers. They're great kids. I've actually picked up a few where we've had someone else in the car, like, say, the Miller Ferry. And you get somebody that they get in, and there's these foreigners there. And, like, not a lot, not all people are, like, comfortable around somebody that's completely different. But usually by the end of it, they're peppering these kids with questions also.
It sounds like driving the cab also gives you great source material for, you said, for future episodes or for your writing. That I love that. It acts as a great source for you. Okay, and then just to bring it back to where our listeners can get more of you, James, where can they learn more about and listen to the Lake Effect podcast?
To listen to Lake Effect, you can go to wgt.org/Lake Effect or Apple, Spotify, NPR, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I love it. Well, please listen to the Lake Effect and learn more about James and hear of these interesting Lake Erie stories. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, young lady. I appreciate it.
Special thanks to James Proffitt, travel writer and host of the Lake Effect podcast, for joining us today. And a reminder that all of July's episodes of The Shoreline are brought to you by Declaration 250, declaration-250.com. As always, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a minute of the action here in Shores and Islands, Ohio. You can also find more information, including past episodes of the podcast, online at shoresandislands.com. We will see you next time on The Shoreline.